Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dawn of Drones podcast. I'm Dawn Zoldi, your host and the CEO of P3 Tech Consulting. We are kicking off a brand new month, August, and we have our incredible guest here, Anna Wiesenthal-Birch. She is the Vice President of People Ops here at Skydio. And when I say here at Skydio, I really mean here at Skydio, because literally we are live from Skydio's headquarters in Modesto, California, and I'm so San Mateo. San Mateo. I knew it was some city in California. It's all been a blur. I've been in an airport terminal for 2 days, literally. But we are so excited to kick off this month dedicated to developing industry leaders. And if anybody knows about that, it's Anna, because you're going to hear about the incredible recruiting, retention, professional development programs she's created here at Skydio, and also how she's engaging and Skydio is engaging with the local community to inspire the next generation of the workforce that we need here for the drone industry. So Anna, so great to have you.
Wonderful to be here, and thanks for coming to visit us at our office.
Yeah, in San Mateo, California. So really amazing. So Anna, let's talk a little bit about you and your background first, because when we talked on Clubhouse last week, we discussed this. There's really not one single journey, right, to get into the drone industry, and your path was really interesting. I think you went to college and were, if I recall correctly, a political science major?
Indeed.
Okay, and then you jumped into the tech world. So walk us through that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I graduated from Chico State in 2009, studied political science. I actually thought that I would end up in the ag industry. I grew up on a small organic farm in Central California. I moved to San Francisco because my brother was living here, and I ended up getting a job at a small internet security startup called OpenDNS. I quickly jumped into the tech world and wore many hats. I was one of the first non-technical hires, so I was doing everything from building our renewals practice to building out our people ops organization to playing a chief of staff role to our CEO. We were acquired by Cisco Systems in 2015, where I stepped in to become the chief of staff to the GM of the security business group. During my time at Cisco, I got the opportunity to really work at a different scale. So, there's something about company building that is incredible, and it is why I'm here at Skydio. But at Cisco, I got to see how an organization operates, functions at, the security business group specifically was around 5,000 employees, a multi-billion-dollar business. And I actually took a little bit of a shift from my focus on people ops into really digging into the business, which was one of the most incredible things I had ever done. As I was returning from maternity leave last year, I was introduced to Adam Bree, who is the CEO at Skydio. We spent time together, and it was clear to me that I was incredibly excited to take the leap from cybersecurity and into the drone industry. Similar to cybersecurity, I had no background in the industry when I joined. Similar with drones, and it has been an incredible year since I joined, and couldn't be happier to be in the industry.
Well, I'll tell you what, first of all, everybody, I know that you're all out there, and so please jump into the chat. Tell us, who you are, where you're from. Ask Anna your questions, because you're listening carefully. You're listening to a real leader here. For those that don't know, what a chief of staff is, I mean, think about this for a second. She leaves college. She is the non-technical hire, and they're making her the chief of staff. That tells me that's the person that basically is the right hand to the leaders of the company and is essentially really running it. So that tells me, honestly, that speaks volumes about you as a person and your leadership qualities. And I'm not just saying that, I've seen that in the military too, because that position, chief of staff, is something the Army has, and we call it in the Air Force a director's staff. And they run the base, like
Yeah.
they run everything. And so that, I think, for everybody, as you think about developing industry leaders, keep your eyes open for those non-technical people, because I think so many times folks kind of have blinders on and think this is now there's certainly positions like engineering, right? If you need an aerospace engineer to build the drone,
Yeah.
okay, that's one thing. But people from different backgrounds can really contribute. So let's before we get into that, let me talk a little bit about some of these drones and talk about kind of the journey Skydio's been on. Like, it's been a crazy ride. I mean, you joined it in last year, but just to watch this company grow, and now as I'm here at this headquarters, and by the way, it's a big building and there are a lot of cubes, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this workforce here. And what Anna's doing there, but tell us a little bit about the Skydio journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So Skydio was founded by Adam, who's our CEO, Abe, who is our CTO, and Matt, who is on our engineering staff. They all met at MIT. After leaving MIT, they went to Google Project Wing, and then in 2014 decided to found Skydio. And it has been an incredible journey of really building the world's, leading autonomous drone that is, assembled here in the United States. When I joined Skydio, we were at a little warehouse in Redwood City, and over the course of the 9 months of joining, we moved into this incredible office in San Mateo, where we have, our machine shop, our prototyping lab, where we have all of our other functionings coming in on a regular basis. We're bringing customers back into the office. And then we also have our manufacturing facility, which is in Redwood City. And we'll be moving over to another part of the Bay. We have not revealed or unveiled that office opening yet, but excited to share that in the coming months.
Yeah, so that is exciting news. And I'm going to do a little show and tell here. For those that don't know, I have to say, being Air Force, like this blue right here, I'm all over this. Like when I bought my first car, I bought the color and the car came with it. So when I'm buying a drone, it's going to be this one, honestly.
Yes. This is the S2, and actually we just released the S2 Plus, which, all of you who are dialing in, you can go onto our website and buy an S2. And then this is our X2, which is our enterprise grade drone.
Wow.
So yeah, head on over to our website, check out, all of our incredible technology.
And we do have some people out there, so I want to give quick shout outs to Chris Wedgeworth. He's, by the way, a super fan. He's coming to us from Northern Cal, and Ron Joseph is in Houston watching. So thanks, you guys. Oh, Dan Julin is here from Canada. Dan is with Arium Analytics, and they have the Robird. It's an ornithopter.
Ooh,
that
amazing.
Looks like a peregrine falcon. Dan, their CEO Jordan Sikoria was on the podcast in June for Emerging Industry Leaders Month. So really, really cool. So all right, let's talk about this title, Vice President of People Ops. What are People Ops?
Let's boil it down to 3 P's. People, so this is all about hiring, building the next generation of drone enthusiasts, or just the next generation of technologists, as well as how we think about retaining, engaging, and keeping our workforce happy, excited to be doing what they're doing, and always growing. Second is around practices. I think that you hear a lot of people talk about culture. When I think about culture, culture is a reflection of our behaviors, how we show up, how we communicate, how we work together, how we make decisions. So really thinking through how do we create the most effective practices as we grow as an organization, and add more people and deliver incredible technology. And then last but not least, places. So we've, made a call out about this incredible office that we're in. I think unlike most companies in the Valley right now, we are uniquely positioned to come back to the office. And so when we moved into our new office at 3000 Clearview, we have invited all of our employees to come back to the office on a regular basis. In an hour or two, Dawn, you are going to see a buzzing office. We will take a walk around to see and say hello to everyone. But really thinking through what is our strategy around site. You also know we are assembling our drones here in the United States, in the Bay Area, which means that we also have a manufacturing facility, and thinking through the complexities of that and how to create a world-class manufacturing facility is something that we are thinking about often.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the conditions of the workplace here in a second, but I want to say I love the 3Ps, obviously, because my company's called P3 and mine's people also, right? Because it's always about people.
Yeah.
It's always about people. And in my case, policies and platforms. And so we got some cool platforms back here. But let's talk about those people for a second. So your journey was unique. And as you look to recruit people into Skydio, as you continue to grow, what are those qualities that you're looking for in people, right? To really, you know, kind of kick this industry up a notch to like make you guys continue to excel.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think you mentioned this earlier, you know, there are some roles where we have to go look for people that have, you know, deep technical skills in their area or their domain.
Yeah.
But I think at the core of the person that we're looking for, you know, I kind of boil it down to the 3 C's. So curiosity, right? Having this, you know, this spark, this interest to always be learning, to be understanding, to even be thinking a little bit, you know, outside the box. Next is collaboration. So, you know, building platforms is complex, and when you think about also having this manufacturing element, it is critical that we are bringing employees on that have a deep sense of, you know, we are only going to be able to get to the best end product if we are collaborating across functions. I've seen this in really big organizations where you start to build out functions and everyone gets really siloed, and so I think that ensuring that that is something that is ingrained in everyone that joins the company is a deep sense of collaboration.
Yep.
And then last but not least, you know, communication, and actually I think there's a 4th C, creativity as well, but you know, communication, being an incredible communicator is a really, really important element, and that does always tie back to collaboration. And then creativity, like we need to be doing things differently. You know, we are pushing boundaries. We are navigating new frontiers, and that takes being creative in how we approach everything from, you know, the way that we're building technology to our people practices.
Yeah.
And not just taking the playbook that we've seen run.
No, I mean, I think that's great because first of all, I love that you've kind of defined, you know, the qualities of a person that you're looking for. I know, like when I used to recruit for the Air Force Drag Corps, some of those qualities were the same, believe it or not, even though we were hiring military lawyers, right? Because number one, as we talked about, it always comes down to people and the ability to collaborate, and of course, as an attorney, to communicate, really key. And, you know, when you think about that collaboration, it's not just internal, it's all of your stakeholders, and you have so many out there, right? I know you all are deep in critical infrastructure sector, public safety is using your drones, you know, and so many other use cases. So to kind of be able to speak and understand and collaborate with those different communities is really key. So let's talk about, and there's some questions out there. We'll get to those, by the way. We see you out there. We will get to your questions. I want to talk about retention, right? So it's one thing to hire great people. It's another thing to keep them. And, you know, frankly, in the Air Force, that especially with women in particular, that was always a challenge, especially over time. You mentioned your maternity leave, you know, as I think there was a trend, and I believe it's still the case today, in the military for, you know, once women start having children and in many other career fields, you know, they leave that career field, and sometimes they just don't come back. So what do you do here at Skydio to build an environment and a culture, to use your word, that wants people to stay?
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes people want to stay.
I'm actually going to speak to the being a working mother. So I have 2 children. One is just turned 2. One is 5.
Oh.
And I think to your point, like that is often a point in someone's career where they might choose to step out. And I think when I was trying to figure out where I was going to go after my chief of staff role at Cisco, it was really important to me that I joined a company that was going to allow me to have this incredible path as an executive, while also being able to be an incredible parent. And I think so often people think that they have to make that trade-off. And that, in my mind, that tone is set by leaders. And I don't think that you can put policies or processes in place to make that or to actualize that. But I will say that, you know, there are a lot of parents at Skydio. You know, there are clear boundaries when there need to be clear boundaries. There's just this incredibly respectful culture that has been developed over time, and an incredible parent community. And so I think that has been incredibly beneficial, at least in my journey as I've joined Skydio.
Gotcha.
When we think about actual like retention of folks, you know, we have a handful of things in place, but you know, I will talk first on women, because I think that is somewhere that will go in this conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a number of affinity groups that you've focused on.
Yeah, for sure. So we are going to be launching later this year a mentorship program and a community for a group of women at Skydio. It will be a 6-month coaching program, working with leadership coaches, helping this group think about, you know, what does their journey look like? You know, where are areas that they want to start to strengthen, and also just be, you know, a sounding board. We'll also bring that group together on a monthly basis for dinners and to really just help cultivate that community.
Yeah, I love that. And by the way, Corey Wallace is out there clapping for you with a little emoji. So thank you, Corey, for that. You know, so how would you respond, Anna, to those who would say, well, hold on a minute, like, why are you singling out women for mentoring and not, you know, men or any other particular group?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So we actually, coaching is, I would say, deep in the DNA of Skydio. So we have a coaching program that is available to anyone and everyone that is interested in engaging with a coach, and that we think it would benefit them. And
now, is this like a life coach or like
a professional coach?
Professional coach, gotcha.
But I think that there's so much. When I've worked with a coach, and I've always worked with a coach, you know, it all kind of intersects with one another.
Right.
But you know, I would say that the women of Skydio are not the only ones receiving a coaching program. I also think we recently launched affinity groups, which, you know, I think that there's also a lot of controversial discussion around.
Yeah, sure.
Groups.
Yeah.
Great. But affinity groups, if done well, are not an exclusive community, right? Affinity groups are open to anyone in the company, and they are a place and a space to talk about, you know, what is going on for a specific community and how we can support each other better. And that exists, you know, across many different groups.
Yeah. And so some of those groups, for example, could be the LGBTQ community, veterans. I believe you have a very strong veteran cadre here at Skydio. And are there any others?
You know, so the Skydians, which is the women's group at Skydio, is the first one to formalize. And now we have a few other in the wings that are coming on board. So veterans, and then LGBTQ are in the works. So, and I will say that, Dawn, all of these communities, when I joined, had already really been formed and were already coming together and creating space to have discussions.
Yeah.
This is a more formalized approach to it with support from the company.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you think about aviation in general, right? And actually in drones, right? So if I recall some of the FAA statistics, at least for pilots, everybody was rejoicing. Oh, look, there's 8% women now. It used to be 5. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so that means there's, I'm not going to do about, so 92% are not, right? So like the fact that you have Skydians, like, let's talk about what you're doing with them, because you you have this really cool, I think for everybody, but really focused also on the women, this, what is it? Loan a drone or drone on loan. Okay. And then training program. So what was that? What is it?
And let's actually dive back into retention, because
Okay.
I think like one of the things that got me so excited about joining Skydio
Yeah.
was the fact that we were building physical things. Like, what an exciting thing. You go around Silicon Valley and everyone is delivering enterprise software. And so to walk in to our office and see a hardware floor of incredible engineers prototyping, building is such an exciting thing. And it definitely, I mean, it sold me on Skydio.
Yeah.
The next step is, once someone joins, is getting a drone in their hands. We're talking about trying to bring folks into the company that might not have drone experience, that may have never even touched a drone before.
Right.
So on your first day, everybody in the company gets a drone.
I love that.
The drone
I
on loan program.
want you to hire me. Like, seriously, it would be so fun.
And so, it is important that we have every employee flying and dog fooding. And so
Yeah,
the
what?
other thing,
They're flying in what?
Dog fooding. So testing our software.
Oh, okay. All right. You use like some Silicon Valley term. Okay, gotcha.
Help into the testing.
Okay.
And so then on top of that, like, then how do you get someone comfortable actually going out and flying? And so we have a huge amount of energy and momentum around getting employees Part 107 certified. Mira Marquez has done an incredible job building an internal training program around that, creating an incredible community and support group around that. And then Skydio also will pay for the fees for you to take your test and also get any additional training you might need.
That's amazing. Mira was one of my very first guests on our, and I say our, Mike Peel, who's my producer, and I worked with InterDrone on drones at dawn. And Mira was one of our first guests on that podcast for Diversity Month. And I just love everything Mira is doing. And she's such an incredible person to have on your team. And by the way, everybody, Skydio has been such a great supporter also of, not just internal and for this retention and all these groups, but even externally. So as an example, Women in Drones, it was the Skydio Public Safety Public Service Award when I led the Women to Watch Award program for Women in Drones last year. It was the 5th anniversary. And, I think it was Tony Drummond from Prestige Air and Global Aero Management Group on Clubhouse was like, yeah, I remember going to that reception after the award ceremony in Vegas at CES. And it was like Skydio banners and all the support. And, that's really incredible. And oh, by the way, if you're not a member of Women in Drones, you should be. And they have an incredible magazine called Vertical Space. It's an e-magazine, and there was an edition, was it last year? Where the Skydians are featured on the cover. Beautiful shot, on the bay, with the drones, learning how to fly. And so a great article in that magazine about this program. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some of the other things just kind of in the workplace, because we touched on this a little bit in Clubhouse, but so you can have these groups and kind of, again, it's like this whole idea of, if you can see me, you can be me, right? There's other people like me we're in this thing together. Actually, before we get to the physical workspace, you said something I want to highlight here. You said this on Clubhouse. Your CEO actually meets with people at every level.
Yeah.
So tell us about that, because when you think about leadership, to me, that jumps out, because I've worked for bosses that never talked to me. And as a boss, that was something my very first week in the office, I would go around and I'd make appointment. And sometimes it'd take longer than a week, right? An hour-long appointment with each person. And I would say, what are we doing well? What can we do better? And then this is the kicker. What can I do for you?
Yeah.
And so tell us about these conversations with Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. So Adam is an incredibly accessible CEO. That was something that was very obvious when I joined, and the importance of staying connected with employees at every level of the organization. He's not here today, but when you're in the office, you will see Adam walking around, stopping by people's desks, sitting in meetings, dropping into meetings, prioritizing having meetings with folks from across the organization. We also organize more formal lunches with groups of employees to make sure that he's staying in touch and connected to them. We do a women's lunch, but those lunches happen with many other groups as well, whether they be product groups, whether they be specific departments. But I would say that for Adam, that has remained a priority as we have continued to grow, passing the 500 employee mark. He still makes an effort to connect with employees at every level of the organization. We have something called Take Flight, which is our onboarding program, which we will be revamping as we've come back to the office and we get to be doing onboarding in person, which is so incredibly exciting. Adam holds a session with every onboarding class where he shares the company strategy, the operating plan for the coming year, and offers time and space for new hires to ask questions.
Wow. Okay. You just hit on something critically important. So many organizations do not have an onboarding or kind of newcomers anything.
Yeah.
And those that do sometimes just don't do it right. I will tell you, when I worked for U.S. Central Command under General Mattis, there was a 3-day onboarding that I had to attend, and we're busy, we're doing things, right? We're breaking things, killing people, right? We're in the military, and to be like, nope, you will not do anything until you sit through this thing for 3 days. And I was like, good Lord. I'll tell you what, it mattered. And in fact, the chief of staff kicked it off. So 2-star Army general, took your time, met with all of us. And even at the very end, it got real tactical. It was like, here's our SharePoint. Here is where you find files. Here's when you have visitor, like how you do it. When I walked out of there, not only did I feel like part of that mission and understood the purpose of that mission, I knew how to accomplish it. And I can't imagine working there without having had that experience. And I love to hear that you're doing that. That is so key.
Yeah.
So I want to pivot and talk a little bit about these external groups. So we mentioned Women in Drones. That's just one of so many other groups that you work with. Let's talk a little bit about the veterans groups externally that you've been supporting, because you've been doing a lot. Skydio has been doing a lot in that arena.
Yeah, so we have a vehicle scholarship program. This last year we awarded 6 drones to veterans through 2 different groups. I will say, not only externally, but internally, 50% of our federal team is represented by veterans. So this is an incredibly important part of Skydio and staying connected with that community.
Wow. And I remember that was on Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And I think was it Wounded
Eagle and Semper Fi America.
Yeah, so, and I saw those pictures and it was so inspiring and the smiles, these folks, and it was men and women both had on their, diverse men and women had on their faces, was so cool. All right, so veterans is one group. Let's talk about the next generation, because you all are doing really interesting things too, with universities, colleges, kind of externally. So tell us a little bit about some of the things you're doing there.
Yeah, let's even start earlier than that.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that the key to creating the next generation is about getting into elementary schools, middle schools, and getting individuals very early on in their journey in a place where they can see themselves represented, in the future of the workforce. And so we've spent a lot of time thinking about how we partner with schools, camps, to ensure that we are starting to build that next generation. You may have seen earlier this year, we had the March Fly Day during International Women's Month.
I did see that.
That was held in the East Bay, where we partnered with a all-girls private school in San Francisco. We had 75 young women out holding, flying, learning about our drones for a full day, and then we ended it with an incredible panel led by Mira, where we talked about, a group, or I guess it was a panel, so
Yeah.
around 5 women's journey to where they are today, from flight testing to a UI UX engineer, and it was an incredible day. It was a beautiful event, and the outcome was really positive. Listening to the young girls speak after going through the day, and their now connection to technology and what drones are, was very exciting. We are actually bringing that school back into Skydio in this upcoming school year, where we'll be doing an internship or a work program, where they will be shadowing and working with our hardware engineering team, the people ops team, the customer support team, and giving them kind of real life experience in the office and exposure to what we're doing.
I mean, what a great opportunity. And I totally agree with you, like getting drones in hands, but then also bringing them actually into the workplace and seeing, it's not just engineers. It's like you said, it's the people ops people, folks. It's the lawyers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this, Anna, right, a little bit on Clubhouse. Like, that was something I was a huge proponent of in the U.S. JAG Corps. They had a formalized intern program, but I'd have people knocking on my door like, hey, can I work for you for free this summer? Yeah. And honestly, like, I mean, unless someone, I can't even imagine a reason why you would turn somebody away. And one summer I had, I'm going to say 6 female interns. And one of them actually was from Brown University. She was just a college student, wasn't even sure if she wanted to go to law school, but the contributions she made were just incredible. And just kind of like with the drone industry, like having to kind of have this public acceptance, the more people that can be exposed, and those kids are going to go back to mom and dad and to their colleagues and friends and neighbors and coaches and be like, I had the best summer. Like, this is the cool stuff I got to do with drones. And people are gonna be like, oh, drones. Huh. Never thought about that. And same, think about that from the military, right? I mean, we're talking less than 1% of the population goes into the military. So having that exposure of like, yeah, they're real people too. They're not robots in the military. I think was a really great opportunity to also spread that word and inspire that next generation all at the same time. So gosh, we've talked about so many things, but what we didn't talk about was kind of the physical workspace, because we said we would do that. So tell us a little bit about that, because when you think about Silicon Valley, you think about Google and the pod chairs and the cool snacks and all that, and good, right? That's good, but like, what do you all do here for interns, for people to visit, for your own folks, to kind of build an environment that is kind of welcoming and, as you said, kind of sparks curiosity?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have invited all of our employees to come back to the office. We are starting to really see that pick up. You walk the software and the hardware floor, you will see that it is buzzing. Because we are building physical things, it is incredibly important that our space is not like a normal office space that you see in Silicon Valley. So if you walk through our prototyping lab, you will see anechoic chambers and you will see machines, and we're in the process of building a bigger machine shop. And so that space was really designed around the needs of our hardware development team. But within that, making sure that we have spaces where people can come together and collaborate is really important. So you'll see throughout the office like little nooks and crannies where people can like sit and whiteboard or tuck away and do some deep work. We also have an incredible cafeteria space. We do bring lunch in. We have not leaned towards like the Google, ridiculous spectrum of perks, but we do believe that creating space for people to come together and eat during the day is actually a really important part of building community and connection across different functions. Every floor does have a kitchen, so people can get their basics, coffee, water, to keep them fueled throughout the day. Yes.
Amen. So
and then I think a really important part of the facility is making sure that we have space to fly, right? Whether we are testing, whether we're trying to get employees out to get their hands on drones, it is important that we have space to fly. So we have created a bunch of spaces around the office, on the rooftop where we can actually go out and fly on a regular basis. You also saw as we were walking through, there's an area where we've pulled out all the desks, and it is a little testing area.
Yeah,
So
it's like the crash test dummy. They got nets and foam and all kinds of stuff in there.
And it's funny too, when you walk into the office, you can hear the buzzing of the drones on the second floor, which is an incredibly fun part of the
Well, it's mission,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, especially when I was at Air Combat Command, so Yorktown, Virginia, I had a corner office, I was a colonel, chief of operations law, and the F-22s, man, they would fly past my window. And, if you think Top Gun Maverick is cool, the windows would shake, right? It's just holy shnikes, but there goes the F-22 and you're like, yeah, America. And then it's just so, you just get fired up to be there. And I could see where that would be the case here. Absolutely. And what you said about kind of community and eating,
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but when you think about what's happened in the last couple of years with COVID, let's talk about college kids for a second. Handing them a lunchbox and saying, go to your room and eat by yourself. I just remember my whole college experience almost, besides the parties, revolved around the cafeteria and sitting there and meeting people and having conversations over breakfast or over a coffee between class, and to have that space and that opportunity for people to kind of get out of the work, away from their desk, but engage with each other, the proverbial giant water cooler.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for the water cooler. And I love that you do that.
I could not agree more. I think the most important work actually happens on the edge. And that's when you're walking down the hall and you bump into someone that you've been wanting to talk to and resolve something, whether it's sitting down and having a conversation with someone you've never met.
Yeah.
And now you have this connection into product marketing, and what a difference that makes in the linkages across the organization. So incredibly important. I think it is something that we really missed throughout the pandemic, and all companies missed.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that chat can replace that.
No, so even conferences, when you think about that, I love that what you said, on the edge. I never thought of the coffee break as being on the edge, but clearly it is, because that's when you let's meet up, or that's when you exchange cards and you actually have those conversations, or at the networking event afterwards. It's not about the snacks. It really isn't. It's about having conversations with people and making those connections and those relationships. So I love that we're back. By the way, I'm here in California because of the Future of Aviation conference being co-led by Caltrans and UC Berkeley, and I'm really excited about it. Yesterday was AAM 101, Community Air Mobility Initiative, kind of a one-day pre-event, if you will, and rock stars there. And just again, when you think about the drone industry and the legal issues and the AAM, there's a lot of bridging there, especially in low altitude airspace, and kind of what that future is going to be. But super excited to have that opportunity to come here as a part of that. So who knew, right? It just all came together. So Anna, we are getting close to the end. We do have a question. I don't know if you can answer this. We did see this week some, I'll call it sad news, right? Anytime you see a company that you think is going to do well, and then they shutter their doors, and we've seen this lately. Valancy is the latest victim, with VC funding. The question out there, and again, you may or may not be able to answer this, but Ron Joseph asks, the Skydio management have plans to take the company public in the future? And I know that's a really big step, and it might be pre-deliberative, but I wanted to ask you because one of our fans asked.
Yeah, that's a popular question. We're going to continue to build a world-class company and technology, and that's what we're focused on as an organization.
Yeah. So this idea: do you go public? Do you not? I mean, we actually were talking about that with Mike and some of our guests on the full crew lately, because you are seeing, especially in the SPAC area, right, a lot of money, especially in advanced air mobility. And, are people throwing good money against bad ideas sometimes, maybe. It's just a whole different level. So just follow Skydio and you'll see if they go public, right? But in the meantime, they're kicking butt. They're part of that blue UAS, one of the original 5, cadre of 5, I believe.
Yeah.
And doing great things. So let's see. What did I miss, Anna? What do you want to still talk about? We've got a couple minutes left.
You know, because I love talking about getting people out to fly drones, I wanted to make a plug for one more thing that we do here at the office.
Please.
And, you know, I'm hoping at some point we can open it up to the public, but it's the first Friday of every month. We have Friday Fly Day, where we ask all employees to turn down their computers, turn down Slack, get their drone out and go fly together at a local park or at our office. This is another great opportunity that our teams get to connect with one another. We get to help each other learn more about the technology, but it's also an incredible opportunity to invite potential candidates to come meet the team and learn about what we're building at Skydio. So that is another really exciting thing that, you know, we do on a monthly basis, and excited to at some point open that up to the public.
I love that. So you said it's like what is it?
The first Friday Fly Day.
First Friday Fly Day. I love it. You know, and as you were saying that, I was thinking, you know, race day quads via FAA, you know, that decision dropped last Friday. That remote ID rule was found to be facially valid from a constitutional and procedural standpoint. I'm assuming y'all will have remote ID capability on board because, you know, I was thinking about the recreation, because this sounds recreational, right?
Yeah.
It's just fun. And if you didn't have remote ID, how you'd have to find a federally recognized identification area and maybe drive somewhere far to do that. So I think that'll be kind of an interesting development. But I'm assuming with all of your, let's say, enterprise products, y'all will be rocking and rolling with RID on board baked in. So yeah, interesting stuff. Okay, we got 3 minutes left. Any other questions out there before we go? Otherwise, I'm going to let Anna kind of take us on home and do a 30,000 foot view summary, or kind of that last couple minutes of whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Any last questions?
And let's see. I don't know.
All right.
I'm looking and I'm not seeing any right now. But fire away if you got them.
Nope. All right. Well, yeah, I would say to everyone who's on the call, check us out. Follow us on our social networks, Instagram, LinkedIn. We want to talk to you. If you're interested in getting into the drone industry, check out our careers. We're always hiring and looking for incredible talent. If you have an organization that might benefit from partnering with Skydio, please send us a message. And we're excited to continue to build the next generation of drone technologists.
I love that. And speaking of which, how can people, what are the shows that you guys are going to that are upcoming? I can cycle through my head some of them.
So September 6th, we have,
the commercial UAV.
Yep, commercial
UAV
in
Vegas. So Caesar's Palace. Everybody check that out. Absolutely. I'm going to be there. Yeah.
And follow us on social networks to hear, what's coming next and where you can find us.
Yeah, very good. Actually, I think I just saw an announcement, Grand Forks, North Dakota, the UAS Summit and Expo there, early October. I saw Skydio on the list as being there as well. Okay. So I'm excited because I'm going there. In fact, True Weather Solutions and Grand Sky are here at the AAM conference as well. And they're going to be doing a big reveal there in North Dakota. So that'll be awesome. We've got folks saying, love the Skydio team. Look, so do I, right there. And let's see, somebody, I can't read this, but it's if I was 29 years younger, I would apply.
Oh, you should still apply.
Yeah, apply anyway. This is a great point. Thank whoever, I can't read the name. Chris is saying that if I was 20 years younger. I'll tell you what. When I did that Women in Drones survey with the Diversity Development Network of Canada, Marlene Dials, the UAS AAM industry survey, and one thing we didn't ask about was age, and people pointed that out. We're fixing that this year. The survey should be coming out again here, like in the next 30 days or so. But, that's experience right there, Chris. Like I'm saying, like, yeah, like not too old, not too young,
Yeah, I mean, this is about building, a workforce that is representative of the world that we live in. It's
Yeah.
why let's slash that comment because
yeah. So don't look at a job application and think I'm too old for this, or I'm too young, or that's not my background. Like that was kind of the point of this message. And so as we sign off today, just know that workforce we need for tomorrow, the industry leaders we need, people like Anna, who was a political science major, who's rocking the world here at Skydio and having such a huge impact. Who would have thought, right, back in college, that she'd be doing this today? So never, never, ever limit yourself. And so maybe that's a great way to sign off here, Anna. Everybody, thank you so much for engaging. Thanks for being with us. Anna, thank you and Skydio for sponsoring this month dedicated to developing industry leaders. And it's so great to see everybody out there. We are out here.